welcome to today's episode. Today we're going to talk about semen retention. Really excited to dive into this topic with you. I'm going to share on how it works and how it can change your life. And by the way, also the life of your partner if you practice it right. Do you want to experience the full potential of your sexual energy, deep intimacy in your relationship, and how it feels like to truly be in your power as a man? Can you hear the world's desperate calling for conscious, heart-centered men to rise to the occasion? Then welcome to the Heart of a King podcast, where you will find the clarity, guidance, and tools that will empower you to do what it truly takes to live a life of freedom, fulfillment, and bliss. First of all, I want to talk about what is semen retention, what is it not. So it is definitely not celibacy and repressing your sexual energy and trying to just avoid sexuality and self-pleasure altogether. That's what it's not. It is retaining your semen, obviously, for a certain amount of time that serves you. And it's not to be confused with NoFap. You might have heard of the NoFap movement on social media or something, which is basically just repressing sexual expression altogether. So no masturbation, no sex, no porn use, which the no porn use, of course, I encourage. But I'll dive later into NoFap and why it doesn't really work and the problems I see with that. But first of all, I want to share with you how semen retention can change your life. So basically, what you have to understand is that your sexual energy is your life force energy. It is how life is created and kept alive. It's the dance of polarity. It's happening in every cell of your body all of the time. That's what makes you be alive. And life force energy is, in my opinion, the most important thing in your life. It is how much energy you have. It is how alive you feel. It is how long you live. It is how well you live and the quality of your experience and your ability to manifest things and share things with the world. So basically, having high frequent ejaculations, the absence of semen retention, which is most common for most men, is depleting your life force energy, first of all, and puts you in a constantly drained state that is so far away from your peak experience of life and from having the ability to create and achieve the things you desire. But even if for you the energetic aspect of this is too abstract, on a very physical level, if you deplete your semen, which is your masculine essence, the body uses all of its best resources to produce these semen. After an ejaculation, the body uses about 30% of all its energy to just recover from that ejaculation, which means there's so much less energy for recovery and for actually being in a healthy state and feel well and strong. On a hormonal level, it decreases drastically your testosterone if you ejaculate frequently, and it releases a hormone called prolactin, which is the famous effect of ejaculation, where you just want to roll over and go to sleep. It makes you more like soft, and it definitely does not strengthen your masculine energy. That's quite the opposite. And with this reduced testosterone levels, there's all kinds of problems that come for men, and there's all kinds of benefits if you increase your testosterone naturally by retaining your semen. Because of that and the whole energetic aspect of the semen retention, you can experience, when practicing semen retention, an increase of the masculine qualities. You can experience much more clarity, much more direction, much more drive to actually pursue your purpose and do what's truly meaningful to you in your life, and to be confident in what you do and who you are. Another benefit of semen retention is how it can drastically make you more attractive to the opposite sex, because they're also feeling that radiant masculine energy, which is really the opposite quite of what most men walk around like, quite depleted of their masculine essence because of the high frequent ejaculation. So, for example, I was coaching an entrepreneur recently who started with the semen retention, and after just a few days of semen retention and also practicing non-ejaculatory sex with the guidance I gave him, he had, after just a few days, quite crazy experiences where he was going to another town, he was going to a restaurant there, and he was there with some people. And just every single woman walking into the place or being there was just kind of staring at him and was super attracted. And everyone, even that was with him, could feel the sexual tension in the air, which was just an example of how much of a difference this can make in your interactions. And it also can bring beautiful polarity into your intimate relationship if you're already in a relationship. And of course, when you are with a partner, Semen retention is one of the key aspects of how to really experience higher sexual experiences that are not super limited by a conditioned way of ejaculating more than is good for you and often earlier than you actually want to. Which already brings me into how does semen retention really work. So one thing you have to understand is that orgasm and ejaculation are not the same thing. They're happening even in completely different areas of the brain. It's just a conditioned way of experiencing them all linked together, which can be a good thing for procreation or a less frequent, consciously chosen release. Because never ever ejaculating again or doing it for super long times, like half a year or a year, is in my opinion not the best idea. So proper semen retention is, in my opinion, practiced whilst being sexually active. And that is also where it really brings the most benefits. And to master that, to have non-ejaculatory sex, of course, takes practice and dedication. And it takes more time to explain that than we have in this podcast. And there's many techniques out there on how to do that, to separate orgasm from ejaculation. And actually, to be honest, after over 5 years of practicing this, I have to say that most of these techniques out there, they're quite unnatural, often forceful, and definitely often take away from the actual enjoyment and connection with your partner. So I've been developing a very natural and unique way for this that every man can learn, which also includes a very deep cleansing process that makes the whole experience of non-ejaculatory sex possible without straining force or super unnatural techniques. This will be part of what I teach in my upcoming online course. If you don't have a healthy way of practicing semen retention, often it is practicing NoFap or something like this, which can create huge problems. In my opinion, is definitely not healthy. One of the qualities of sexual energy is that it amplifies things and it binds things together. So if you just push your sexual energy down and you just try to suppress it, it will come out in some way and it will amplify everything in your system. For example, it can amplify anger and suppressed emotions. It can also make you indulge deeper in unhealthy habits and behaviors. It can make you very moody and not nice to be around. So it is important to redirect all this life force energy in a way that serves you, and to also, in my opinion, still be sexually active in a healthy way. So much for that. So I'd like to share with you some really important information about semen retention that I wish I had when I started. So first of all, if you retain your semen, what's a healthy frequency to do that? For example, one that's just based on time and age of the person would be that in your 20s, you could do an ejaculation about every 4th day, in your 30s, about every 8th day, in your 40s, about every 16th day, in your 50s, about every 21st day, and beyond that, it should be no more than once a month. But that's just a very rough guideline that I don't resonate with that much. What I practice myself is a lot to do it intuitively, and more recently I found something that really serves me, which is not just based on time, but it's actually based on how many sexual experiences you are having, since non-ejaculatory sex also builds a lot of sexual energy and life force energy in your system. So it's a highly relevant factor in calculating how many times you ejaculate. Because if you're actually cultivating this life force energy by having sexual experiences without ejaculating, you have much more reserves to work with. And the ideal number that I found for myself is to have 3 to 4 non-ejaculatory sexual experiences before you allow yourself again to ejaculate consciously. And of course, all of that is super individual, and the best thing is to try it out for yourself, how you feel, and when you really feel the increase of your life force energy from retaining the semen, and when you feel, honestly, when it's a time for a conscious, healthy release. Having said that, there's also great benefit that can be had in longer periods of semen retention. Like, for example, if you would go 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, or maybe even more. But I would recommend, especially in the beginning, once you figured it out, to try out how your body and how your energy feels after doing it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and maybe even a month. And then you can see for yourself what resonates more with you. If you want to come back to the formula I've mentioned that considers how many sexual interactions you have, or if you just want to give yourself a guideline of how many days you want to go without ejaculating. What I think is really important to mention here, that this is not to be just coming from the mind, trying to control your body or suppress your sexual energy in some way. It's about finding a healthy frequency, and most importantly of all, listening to your body. And I'm not talking about the conditioned way of being addicted to ejaculatory orgasms, which is a whole nother topic I will go into another time, which makes us go unconsciously over the edge and ejaculate. I'm talking about really listening to your body in a deeper way that tells you when it actually wants an ejaculation or your energy system needs that ejaculation. Because if you're really on the path of sacred sexuality and you're actually doing the inner work to clear the path for that, it can often occur, or sometimes, that you are working through something or you're experiencing intense stress or your system just released a big trauma or something, that it can be really effective and supportive to actually have a conscious ejaculation, even if it might be beyond the frequency you were planning. And that is, of course, not to be turned around into, again, being completely sloppy again with your intention and just ejaculating all the time. It is just to be aware that there are healthy reasons to have an ejaculation. It might be beyond what you planned. So all in all, I can just highly encourage your interest in semen retention and to start your journey of actually learning this. Because this is a way to really take back your power as a man in a world where most men are conditioned to ejaculate in a super high frequency that makes them drained and lose so much of their potential to this unconscious habit. In my experience, it's definitely worth doing the inner work necessary and learning this to, on the one hand, allow you to have higher sexual experiences, and on the other hand, just actually make you be much more alive and much more in your masculine essence and able to really show up as who you are and who the world also needs you to be in these times. Thank you for being interested in this topic and taking the time to learn about this and work on yourself. Honoring you for that. And that's it for today. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss out on the next episodes, where we'll continue sharing on sacred sexuality, conscious relationships, and the inner work it takes for us men to be able to master these, as well as amazing interviews on this topic.